afternoon, coffee time. I hope I keep you engaging through the next 15 odd minutes. So I think to get started, these are a few things I'm going to cover with you. And to kick it off, I think the most important phenomenon that we actually see is in India, this is definitely going to be the digital decade. There are a lot of stats and numbers that you have on it. Yeah? For example, it's going to be a $5.4 trillion economy. Now, within that, what's really cool is almost $1 trillion of this is going to be somewhat digitally enabled. So we often use the term not decade, but tech aid. Yeah, so this is going to be India's decade because there's so much of digital power in the ecosystem. And if you look at this, is this actually something which is a metro, tier one, folks like ourselves in Bangalore city? Not really. What we're seeing is that this is a phenomenon that cuts across tier two and tier three India, and it's fairly ubiquitous. And I'll show you some interesting stats as we go along this presentation. But definitely a takeaway, and like we heard the speaker before me from, say, India Gate, and he's talking about rice, which varies from region to region almost. We are such a multilingual country. So if there's one thing that you should keep in mind is as you're building your brands and your strategies, how do you use the power of vernacular to be able to connect with these tier two and tier three audiences becomes very, very fundamental to what you do and to do it well. And if you look at this, and purposely I have this slide which has a 2021 reference all the way up to 2026. Because when we built out this chart some years ago to where we are today, I think the predictions are very much in that zone, probably even beating them slightly. So we can see that the whole evolution of the digital ecosystem, be it in terms of overall internet users, be it on social media, be it on video platforms, down to service and product transactors, is growing very, very significantly. Yeah, and these are numbers that you will see all across. I'll touch upon a little bit more about the social media and chatting and messaging space, which we do at Meta quite significantly. The numbers that you're going to see up here are international numbers because that's how we share our data. So we have about 3.8 billion monthly active users. So is this mic okay, or do you want me to switch? It's all right? Sorry? Okay, great. So there are about 3.8 billion monthly active users on Meta platforms, of which India is a very, very big market. And what are people doing on those social media platforms, right? And there are a whole bunch of things here. But one of the things that I find really powerful is, again, I think what Shweta on the previous panel mentioned, is building for the medium and how do consumers engage with that medium. And on that, I would actually point you to the second stat there about sharing. So there are over 2 billion reels which are shared every day. So imagine if you're building a brand or a business, gone are the days where it's a passive interaction, where someone is seeing something and kind of consuming it in a one-way space, but actually where you're sharing things to people and they're engaging back with you. So think of your own behavior if you're on Instagram and if you're using Reels, when you find something interesting and fun, what is it that you actually do? You send it forward to someone you know. Similarly on WhatsApp and messaging platforms, etc. So I think that's another very, very big trend to keep in mind, that this is a two-way medium, and it's a new tool for business builders and marketers to figure out how do you make stuff which is kind of share-worthy and a two-way dialogue, and hence a lot more engaging. So this is where in this entire social media space that Meta sits quite squarely in it, is across these three pieces. The first one is, I think, kind of the largest messaging app globally. Maybe just a show of hands, how many of you don't have WhatsApp? Okay, if you just look around the room, there's like zero, right? I can go into any meeting room, any conference room, any space at all and say, hey, pick a person who doesn't have WhatsApp. I don't think I've ever found one till now. The question is even usually not that. The question is, hey, how many of you haven't used WhatsApp in the past half an hour if you were not on the panel? Even then, a hand is not going to go up. Because that's how powerful this platform is. And I'm going to leave you with a couple of interesting things on which we are seeing in terms of both trends and how can you use it more effectively for whatever it is that you would do. The second piece is a powerful discovery engine. And I'll touch upon that again later in the presentation, where shopping is no longer about, hey, I wanted to buy X and I went and bought X. It's about products finding people. Like as we go through our journeys, we discover products and we use that discovery to convert into a shopping decision either then or maybe later. And this discovery engine from a meta perspective is not something that we're looking at only as businesses or brands or specifically to drive advertising outcomes, right? So if you're on Instagram or Facebook yourself, there's so much of content recommendation that's coming your way, right? So our recommendation engines are keeping you engaged and interested in the platform overall and are able to understand your behavior to make sure that you have the right content served up to you. Those are the same things that are helping you discover products at the right time. So for example, if it's my birthday coming up, which it is by the way, and my husband never shops for anything, yeah? But because it's a birthday coming up and he has a task to do, he's actually going to go and look for things which are probably going to interest me. And where is it that he's going to go look for trends and find trends, etc.? And which are the apps that he's going to use in a more regular basis for ideas to surface up to him? So I think this entire piece of discovery. And finally, AI, I don't think I've been to a single conference, meeting, or a forum where the word AI is not mentioned. But I'll also tell you why for us at Meta, it's not actually something new, but it's something that we've been doing right since our inception and some interesting thoughts in that space. So now while you say people are using social media so significantly, as that's great for us as consumers and users, and I get a lot of entertainment from watching reels on a daily basis for sure. But what is it that we can do as businesses and kind of leverage this power? I think this is something to keep in mind, that almost all purchase decisions now, the discovery is happening online. Now they may choose to convert and buy online, or they may still walk into a store then or later. But I think that's something which is very, very important to keep in mind, that the amount of purchases which are happening online, amount of purchases happening where the discovery is happening online. Here, this stat is about 62%, and I'll show you a few other stats in this space. But the discovery is also very important because these are spontaneous purchases. So we're seeing a significant amount of purchase decisions are not planned. They're actually spontaneous. And why is that spontaneous drive coming up? Is because discovery is happening far more easily across all of these spaces. And where does discovery happen? No prizes for guessing. I think that's why we put, like, from all our research and surveys, that meta technologies, be it Facebook, Instagram, or WhatsApp, seem to be one of the places where people go to just follow things and discover things and find new things, which either creators or influencers are posting, or it may be advertising solutions that folks like you will use to be able to find the right person at the right place and hence enable this discovery. So what is Meta's role in this omni-channel world? Whether you're a retailer, whether you're a D2C brand, everyone wants to have an omni-channel play. Yeah, you'll have a space in an e-commerce marketplace, you'll have your own website, you'll want to operate in the real world in a brick and mortar store. So how do you bring all this omni-channel space together, and what do we do as Meta? I think this really cool concept of web rooming, which has grown almost double in the past few years, which again builds on the space about discovering online and then coming and buying pretty much anywhere. And some really, really good stats that we're seeing on this one. One, I told you about people who have discovered something online and then bought it anywhere. But those same customers, what we see is when they browse online, they spend almost 34% more than people who just discovered your product inside the store. Yeah, so the purchase decisions are not just about buying that one product, but it's also impacting, say, your average order value or the number of items you purchase, because you just have a longer time that you've spent and engaged with that brand or the product category, so that when you go to the store, you're opening up your mind to be able to fill your basket more. Similarly, we see those are the people who go on to make about 70% more frequent purchases. Yeah, so when you think about measurement, and I heard that also being mentioned quite a bit in the previous panel, that's actually a tricky one in this world. Because typically what do? Hey, I spent my dollar today, did I get my return today? And that's all I'm thinking about. But the reality is, if you start thinking about this funnel, I'm spending my dollar today, I may get some dollars back today, which is my instant conversion, but I'm actually driving people into a store to go make a purchase, and it just doesn't end there. They're making more purchases than what they would normally purchase, and it doesn't even end there. They're coming back and repeating me more frequently. So as you think about your marketing strategies and measurement, It's a complicated one and we're all in it together, but try and see the impact of your marketing dollar is actually far beyond that one purchase that you're going out there and making. And these are just stats and data, right? Because all of us love numbers saying, hey, show it to me. This is one of those show it to me kind of slides wherein we see that folks like yourselves who used Meta for omni-channel outcomes see like a 63% incremental ROAS, for example. Yeah, so there are a lot of tests and studies, many of them in India, but equally internationally, because we see consumer behavior patterns to be fairly similar across markets and regions also. And this is a really important one. I hope many of you are Instagram users too. But when you look at Instagram, it's actually not one placement. It's not one format. Yeah. So you have feed, which you keep scrolling through. You have stories, which come and disappear. And then you have reels, which is this really massive deal, which I'll talk about in a minute. But as you design your communication strategies and design your marketing strategies, I think something very important is to see how are you creating for all of these medium, because each of them has a slightly different language for you to be able to engage with your end consumer or end user really effectively. And this is just a beautiful example of saying the visual language is the same. So this is a Louis Vuitton product, of course. But how do they take that visual signature but adapt it across mediums so that it looks like it's very much a part of one brand campaign? But it's not the same visual or the same static which is used in exactly the same manner. Today, it looks like this beautiful family because they have crafted it accordingly. So that's another challenge or opportunity for all of you as brand builders, business builders, and marketers, is saying how do you learn the language of these medium and adapt all your communication to be really perfect for that medium so your whole brand story comes across in one piece. So let's come to AI, the buzzword. I think the most important thing at Meta is that AI has been a part of what we do kind of right from inception. So we actually have this group of people called the Fundamental AI Research Institute, and you should go read up about it. It's led by this person called Jan LeCun, who is kind of known as the godfather of AI. And he's won the Kering Award, which is kind of the Nobel Prize equivalent in this space of science and technology. And what is it that we've been doing with AI? Actually, the first step is to get users like myself and like yourself to download an app and stay engaged with that ecosystem. So be it a Facebook, an Instagram, or a WhatsApp, to make sure that we are showing the right content to the people for them to want to come back constantly. Be it your own friends, be it people you follow, be it any kind of trends. So AI for us powers absolutely everything we do. And that's something we've been on this journey, multi-year journey, as you may call it, not really talking about it because that's really at the core of everything we do. And because of that, we have a lot of expertise and learning, which cuts across absolutely everything we do, from product discovery to everything which is safety and integrity, to business messaging, to Reels, to our ads ecosystems. So it's not something new that we are doing just to make sure the right ads are served to the right people, but it's powering off all the user behavior signals that you would have, which shows you great content. A similar thing is showing you great advertising, and hence makes it kind of real and effective in a very meaningful way. But while we are all in on AI, other thing which is very important for us, in addition to driving better experiences, better outcomes, is also everything related to safety, privacy, security, be it following the laws of the land or ensuring that we operate within whatever those frameworks are that are important to customers from a privacy and safety perspective. We are also seeing fantastic outcomes for marketers. So we have a product called Advantage Plus, which is our AI-powered suite of products, which we launched about a year or so ago. And we see these in terms of conversions, ROAS, creative, etc. And I think the latest buzzword when you walk away from here, which I'm getting used to, is while you talk about AI, there's also now AGI, which is how do you actually make generative AI work for you? Yeah, so you're already one step ahead in terms of being able to adopt it to make sure it works for you. And one place which is very relevant to look at is in the creative space, because a huge challenge for us used to be that how do I create tens of thousands of creatives? Forget even tens of thousands, yeah, even making 5 or 10 creatives was a challenge, because I grew up in a world of marketing where you made like one creative and that went across kind of all medium. but how you're able to use AI generated systems to churn out different versions of creatives, which you can test and learn and then redeploy. I think that's a really, really cool space to explore going forward. So coming onto Reels, I think this is really something which has been a standout success in terms of a transformation. So short form video in any form is something that has become so, how do I say it, integrated into everything you do. You try and go to a space where people are just kind of waiting, 99% they're going to be watching a reel. Yeah, and this is my personal stat. Yeah, it's not a meta-validated stat, but they're constantly swiping things, reading things, seeing things, all kinds of entertainment content. On one hand, it's not just entertainment too. People are consuming even deep and serious content in this form, just in bite-sized versions, as you may call it. And the other piece which I touched upon earlier was about this entire concept of sharing. So it's not just that I see the content and I'm good with it, but it's also how I'm sharing that forward. And the third piece is all things related to influencers or creators, as we call it, because creators lend that voice of authenticity. Yeah. So the kind of creator that I may follow versus you may follow or you may follow may be different, but each of them talks to us in a different way. Yeah. And I'm going to show you an example of how a brand brought this all together. The other place is on what we call business messaging, or roughly put WhatsApp, is almost 1 billion people are messaging a business on WhatsApp. So forget you and me, for whom it's a lifeline, like we know everyone in this room uses it, but it's also how people are now much more comfortable engaging with businesses on WhatsApp. Think about customer service actually. And when I look at my own personal story, maybe say 10 years ago, and if I was having a problem with any service, be it a bank, I don't think even 10 years ago online shopping existed, but you would pick up the phone, you'd want to speak to someone to solve that problem of yours. Yeah, and we are actually probably in this room on the higher end of the digital maturity curve. Yeah, so I think people like ourselves are saying, you know what, I don't want to call anyone and give all this information. Can I just work with a chatbot and respond with like 2-3 clicks and get my problem sorted, and will that work, right? So on messaging, it's about building your brand, it's about engaging as a business, it's things like customer service also, which people are very, very comfortable to be able to translate onto this ecosystem instead. Yeah, so this is another very powerful tool that you must be able to think of and leverage. So I'm going to bring this all together in the form of what we call connected experiences. And let me use these examples, which are going to be quite interesting. So before I go to the examples, just pause on this one. Yeah? And I used this statement earlier in the presentation, that it's moved from going shopping to always shopping. There are a few people who may not be happy with that, like my husband, whose bank account I might be blowing up or credit card I might be blowing up. But for the most of us, it's actually, as a business opportunity, really, really fantastic. About products finding people versus people finding the products, finding the people versus people finding the products is really a core and interesting ethos, because that leaves you shopping or in that shopping mindset or spontaneous discovery on a 24-hour kind of a time frame. So we have this framework which we call connected voices, and a lot of these reels are going to play along. So this is Marc Jacobs, the brand, the tote bag, which is their classic. So you can actually see different types of reels that they created, and each of these reels has a slightly different signature. Yeah, so some of them work with creators who are very famous, some of them just hero that product. This was something that they did for their tote bag relaunch internationally. Yeah, and the visual medium is so powerful that it catches your attention in a very significant way. And these are the kind of results that you're seeing from that product launch. Another one which is quite interesting, this one is Sephora. During the COVID lockdown, they wanted to launch a fragrance, yeah? And they did a bunch of stuff, yeah, from product videos to using creators, etc. But the one which really struck me as very interesting is what you see actually, the third visual out there. It's a augmented reality filter where they realized that for that particular fragrance, there are certain ingredients inside that fragrance. So yeah, if you look at that, it's probably going to be something lemony, orangey, fresh, something like that. Sorry, I'm going to go back. Yeah. And what they realized from that fragrance is that if I was shown a visual with certain elements in it, green leaves, oranges, and lemons, through mental memory association, I'm going to imagine a fragrance. Yeah, it's something neurological, let's say. And as a result, you can experience a fragrance through sheer visuals and not actually olfactory where you have to smell it. Now, obviously, when you go and smell the fragrance, it's going to be on a spectrum much more impactful, but not always is it possible. So this was really, really fascinating as a case study, saying just through visual imagery, which you're building into a quite a simple AR filter, you're able to create an experience of another entire dimension like smell. So why I wanted to show you this example is that possibility is endless. Like how can you explore this medium to find exactly what works for your brands? Now I'm going to show you an example close at home. This is Tanishq. And I know we had some Tanishq folks in the room, I think, earlier in the day. What is fantastic about Tanishq, and me and my team actually work quite closely with the team on this. All of us will be familiar with Tanishq as a brand, which has very long format, emotional storytelling. Yeah, that's what we are used to, right? And on the other hand, you have format like Reels, which seems kind of very snappy, very quick, very kind of funny and tongue-in-cheek kind of humor. So as a brand, how do you actually use that medium to tell the brand story in the way the brand envisages it? I think that was a task for Tanishq that we went into. And I think after we did this, I think we all got a significant amount of confidence. 1 second. Just give me a second. Yeah, it's complete. So after doing this, we got a significant amount of confidence as the brand team and ourselves as Meta, saying that the brand language which exists in your co-brand, by choosing the right creators and influencers and working with them, you can create a code which is quite authentic, both to the creator or influencer as well as to you as a brand. And the results are there again as proof. Yeah. So this is just to give you a few examples of saying, how do you play with the medium and make it work for your brand is a very interesting kind of learning curve. I think the last one coming up here is on Gen Z audiences. I think those are a very, very valuable audiences. They are the next generation of shoppers. For most of your brands, there'll be a TG of either today or tomorrow in a way as they grow into it. So that's another place where Instagram and Reels become very crucial to their lives. It's really the language that they speak. This is just an example of Maybelline, but what we see is that it works all across. If you're looking at incremental reach amongst Gen Z users, if you're looking at frequency amongst Gen Z users, if you're looking at conversions amongst Gen Z users, Reels and creators play a very significant role in that. And these are again just some stats, yeah, for those of you who are more number hungry, saying when you use creators or influencers, there are more clicks, there are more add to carts, there's more omni-channel sales. And personally, when I look at this and I wonder like what is the driver behind it, I think the biggest driver actually is that what we would call the boy next door or girl next door feeling of authenticity. So it doesn't replace any brand communication. So you'll have a beautiful brand story which you tell in a manner that the brand speaks and only the brand can speak. But you complement that with the right creators or influencers telling the story in their own way, which each of us as consumers or users relate to. I think bringing that package together is what creates that really powerful kind of 360-degree impact. This is a really interesting one. We call it the infinity loop now. Before it used to be kind of a funnel of from awareness to conversion. But we're saying that awareness to conversion is point in time, right? It's just once. Like I'm aware of something, I convert and you're ending the funnel. But we are actually in an infinity loop of constantly getting our consumers and users come back and buy from us. So be it awareness, discovery, awareness, consideration, purchase, repurchase, re-engagement, just popped in a few questions there, yeah, saying that at each stage of the funnel, what are the kind of use cases that you're looking at? Yeah, these are just sample set of questions. Yeah, you can put in any question that you feel is relevant for that phase for your brand or your business. Yeah, and what you'll actually see is there will be a role that WhatsApp or messaging can play in that part of the funnel. And I'll show you an example. So these are some stats, yeah? Wherein for each of those funnel stages, there are marketers and business builders out there who are already using WhatsApp to drive outcomes. So if you want to get a little bit of FOMO, which you haven't yet got from seeing all those really cool reels, this is the next stage, yeah? Wherein are you using WhatsApp effectively across this entire loop of engagement with your customers? And are there things that you could do? Because definitely there is a lot of information out there that shows that it's working quite well. But at the same time, we're at the early stage of the journey of having to figure this out and actually making it work for your specific brand. This is the other one on what we call connected experiences. So you may say, hey, there's Instagram, hey, there's WhatsApp, hey, there's TV, hey, there's print. We also think that it's about bringing these things together in an integrated manner that works for you. So one of the things that we have worked with one of the largest electronics retailer brands in India is on all their print advertising, they put in QR codes with a very good call to action, which then meant that when they put out their print ad, yeah, which you see early in the morning, but let's say it's a catalog of some really fantastic offers, as you go about the day, it kind of fades into your memory, and maybe come the weekend when you're thinking about buying one of those particular brands, you can't remember exactly which particular, let's call it SKU, which price point, etc. So what they said is, hey, in our print ad, we will add a QR code with a call to action, and just by scanning that QR code, you'll be able to get a downloadable PDF of all the offers listed there. So they're sitting with you on WhatsApp for you to be able to access and use so that you can decide whichever product you want to buy at any point of time. Now, it's fantastic for that particular retailer because you've kind of got an enhanced CRM input just through this intervention. Yeah, so let's say this is Meghna, she scanned the code and she's chatted with you on WhatsApp and got this downloadable PDF, and she's done that on Monday. Come the weekend, you're actually nudging her back saying, hey, this sale is going to end, or this offer is going to end, or there's an activity in store, why don't you come and buy us? Yeah, and I have given you the permission by telling you, hey, I'm interested in your brand or product category, so the relevance is there. I've opted into the channel, so it's not feeling like spammy because I'm the one who's taken that action, and finally you're able to nudge me to show up in the store and do something. Now, of course, you can do anything with that. Yeah, you can give them a promo code, you can give them a kind of a quiz contest for them to win something. You can tell them new information. If you're a beauty or a fashion retailer, you can give them lookbooks. If it's a gifting moment, you can give them ideas and suggestions on what they could buy. I think the possibilities are endless. So I think that's the other thing that you should keep in mind, that how do you integrate these strategies across all the channels that you use? One question that me and my team definitely do get asked is that, hey, but do people really scan QR codes? I have only one question. Think about UPI. That's all you do, right? So go back like 5-6 years. I, as a marketer, would not have given up my print retail space because it's like really precious, right? Print or a hoarding, and say, why do I have to waste this space? I'll add a little bit more brand messages, or keep it clean and uncluttered, because nobody's really going to scan anything. But that was like 5-6 years ago, 7 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever that number is. But today, with UPI, we are so comfortable with scanning stuff and taking an action that we are seeing a very, very significant adoption. But let's say you bump into me somewhere and you say, hey, Meghna, we added all this, but nobody actually scanned the QR code. I'll still say it's back on you, because the call to action is really important. Because you're going to make me spend those 2 seconds extra time to scan. So your call to action on why I should scan should definitely also be really, really powerful. Yeah, and I'm using obviously a lot of meta channel examples, but I want to leave these with you as thoughts to say, how do you integrate your entire experience more holistically? I think I'm coming up on my last slide soon. And finally, don't take my word for anything. So absolutely anything in the digital media and meta for sure, you're on a learning curve. We are all on that learning curve. There won't be one size fits all that works for every brand in exactly the same way. Take all of this as food for thought and find ways to test and learn for your own brand and your own use case. It's not even going to be the same for the same brand. So what happens during a sale period versus what happens always on is going to be different. Maybe what happens in the south of India versus north of India is going to be different. So I think this is a great time as marketers and business builders, especially working in the digital space, to really test and see whether your strategies work for you and your brand at that point in time. And on that note, I want to end with this video. Don't worry if there's no audio. It's okay.
Not so much. Over 12 million seconds of audio.
Just continue. So,
Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
People love sending WhatsApp audios during Christmas. Especially in Brazil, a huge country where many people live away from their loved ones. So, when we challenged them to draw the iconic Coca-Cola bottle using WhatsApp audios, everyone went nuts. Coca-Cola Magic Audios. People just had to send a Christmas audio to the Coca-Cola chatbot, using a personal instrument to draw the famous bottle. Their voices. Those who achieved it won amazing gifts to share with their loved ones. Sounds simple, right?
Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas!
Not so much. Over 12 million seconds of audios were sent trying to draw the bottle, and analyzing each one in only a few seconds required loads of intelligence. The artificial one. We used thousands of clustered audio content to teach the AI to identify the waveforms and classify different shapes, sounds, and accents. 2 weeks of promotion got us more than 4 million messages sent. 100,000 new users registered in the Coca-Cola WhatsApp base. 400,000 Christmas audios sent. More than 800 gifts delivered. Now, people will never stop seeing drawings in WhatsApp audios.
Feliz Natal, família! É Natal! Noel?
Então, é Natal!
yeah, that one's much better with audio for sure. So thanks a lot for fixing that. So this is just an inspirational example, and I love it every time I see it, right? An audio signature and how that drove so much of engagement. Now, as I wrap, and maybe we'll do Q&A if you have a couple of minutes, is we are at that inflection point where various media, like digital media that I just showed you a couple of examples, are all changing in a very dramatic fashion. So personally, when I get up and go to work every day, I'm super excited. Because this is not the world where you're taking someone else's playbook and having to deploy it. This is the world where you're inventing and creating those playbooks. You have that very rich opportunity of being able to say, how does this medium work for my brand and my business, and do something truly innovative, truly disruptive, and truly transformative. So on that note, maybe any questions which I could take?
With that, ladies and gentlemen, opening the house for questions. Any questions? You could please put your hand up and we will have the mic passed on to you.
I think everyone needs a coffee break, so we are good with that. But thank you so much. I hope you found something useful and interesting. And just like I showed you the international case study, maybe we'll be back here in the same room next year, and there'll be one of you in the audience who have created some brilliant case study like that for us to show. I'd also like to thank my colleague Shubha, who helped put this presentation together and definitely helped get sound back on the video, which made it magical. So thanks a lot, everyone.